everyone, welcome back to the Library of Parthos. My name is Sarah, and today's video is going to be slightly different because I am unwell. I am not coping, okay? And I'm hoping that I can just find solace with others who are also not coping after finishing Onyx Storm. Now listen, I started this when it first came out. It took me a while. I know, I just finished it yesterday. I'm not okay. And so I was trying to think about how to do a video for this book, because if you've read the Fourth Wing series, you know that there is so much history of the world tied into the book, from the story as it's unfolding to the little snippets of information that we get at the top of each chapter. It's so much, and I felt like after a single read, cannot do it justice. I need to reread and study and map and do all of the things. And I know that there are people who have done that already, and I'm sure I could not do as good of a job as they can, but I still wanted to talk about it. So my goal for today is not really to even summarize the book. I will give just a kind of quick synopsis for anyone who needs a refresher, but all I want to do is just talk about my theories for the rest of this series. So from my understanding, there are 2 more books yet to come out. I don't think any dates have been confirmed for either of those books, so we are just in a waiting period, which is like the worst place to be. So let's dive in to Onyx Storm. Thank you for humoring me today and letting me talk about my theories, and I'm curious if your theories are going to be the same or if they're going to differ a little bit from mine, so stick around to check that out. Okay, so key plot points for Onyx Storm. There's a couple of things that are kind of driving the story forward at this point. So we have looking for the Irids, so the breed of dragon that Andarna is, the ones that can kind of change color and their fire is able to burn the Veneen. Looking for those, going out on missions to try to find where they might be, if there are any of them still alive. So that's one key plot point of the story. We also have the characters who are trying to recruit armies to fight with them. So they know that there are more battles coming. They know that the Veneen are moving closer and closer. The wards won't hold forever. They will not stay protected forever. And so they know they're going to need to fight, and they're looking for reinforcements. So as they are visiting different places to try to look for these dragons, they're also trying to create alliances with these different groups of people. And it was really cool to kind of see outside of this world we've been living in for so long and see what the other groups of humans throughout the world are doing similarly or differently. I really enjoyed that part, side note. The last thing, of course, is Violet is looking for a cure for Xaden, who is slowly turning Veneen. He is channeled several times throughout the book. And she is trying to find a way to fix him. So those are the key plot points that are driving us forward. Couple of things that I just really enjoyed. First of all, broccoli was a delight. Any snippets of broccoli were amazing, and I wish that there was more. And that whole encounter on that island until, you know, the tragic part of it cracked me up. I was laughing so hard. So I think, like, plot-wise, that pretty much covers it. That's like basically everything that is happening in the story. So let's get into my fan theories, and I kind of broke it down by character and the role that I think each character would play and how I think that is going to drive the story forward. So let's dive into that. Okay, let's start with Dain. I know that's a weird place to start, but let's just start with him. So I feel like I liked him a lot more in this story than I did in the previous ones, and I'm sure that that was intentional. You know, everyone is growing as characters. He's realizing that being such a rule follower maybe isn't always the best choice. So there's a couple of things with Dain toward the end of the book that kind of made me question what's going on with him. So first thing, whenever Mira is almost killed and Brennan is trying to heal her, he runs out of magic, and so they bring in reinforcements of Sloan, who is able to, you know, kind of channel. She's like a funnel. She can take magic from one person and give it to the other. She's done it before. She can do it again. She doesn't want to, but Dain kind of talks her into it. And when she's finished, she says something weird to him like, somebody like you should not have that much power. And I thought that was super weird because yes, Dain is very powerful, his dragon's very powerful, but it was such like an intentional comment. And I feel like in this world in particular, nothing is ever unintentional. So I think that there was a reason for that. So here's my theory for Dain. I think that he might also have a second signet. And I know that's kind of weird because it's Violet who has 2 dragons. That makes sense. It's those with the rebellion relics to help them survive. That makes sense. And because they were kind of bonded to dragons that their family members had been bonded to. So that all tracks. Why would it make sense for Dain? I don't know. It really wouldn't, honestly. But my reason for thinking this is because of the comment that Sloan made, and also because he keeps asking a lot of questions. And again, I feel like very little is unintentional. There are so many little comments that are kind of thrown back to later. So I feel like that was there for a reason. So when he's noticing that some of the other riders have a second signet, he's commenting like, thank you, you need to explain that to me later. So I feel like maybe he's manifesting a second signet and is kind of trying to figure it out without letting people know what's going on. Because of course it's a bad thing. It opens up the potential to turn a lot easier, and so it's kind of frowned upon. So I'm thinking that he has a second signet, and I'm wondering what it could possibly be. So that's my theory for Dain. Let's move on to Sloan. So Sloan, from her first introduction, from the first moment that we learned what her signet is, I felt, and I'm sure, I know other people have too, because I went down like some Reddit rabbit holes and was reading all of these different theories yesterday. She is somehow going to be the key for either curing Xaden or figuring out a way to kind of fix this channeling issue with the Veneen. In my digging yesterday, I decided to go to my best friend ChatGPT and ask for some theories there. I was putting in a couple of different prompts. I just asked for like, predict the end of the series, pull all of the chat, like the little pieces of information at the heading of each chapter, and find something that, you know, what are the important things that we need to note. And from all of that digging, I was kind of reminded that there have been some comments that maybe channeling itself might not be evil, but the magic has somehow become corrupted. And so it's more of like a symptom than like the actual disease. And so I think Sloan is going to be the key in fixing that. Something else that leads me to believe that, the first time that she was kind of funneling magic, she left gray marks on people. So Brennan has one on, I think on his wrist, Dain has one on his arm. The second time in this book, she didn't leave those marks. And so I think that that's kind of showing that maybe there is a way to do it without like giving away part of your soul, I guess, is the best way to phrase it, I think. So I do think that she's going to play an extremely important part in the rest of the story. Okay, just kind of lumping all of the riders with a rebellion relic together, there is totally more to them than what we are seeing, and I just don't quite know what that is. If they have a plan, if they figured some things out, if they know more than they're letting on. But they, of course, because they're main-ish characters, are going to play a super important role moving forward. I just don't know what that role is. So I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on how those characters are going to play a key role moving forward. Okay, now I wanted to save Violet and Xaden for last-ish, but they kind of tie into this next one, which is Aaric, a precog, like never saw that coming. This whole time I was fully convinced that he was either, that he had not manifested his signet, first of all, but that he was just, he had access to information that nobody else did because he's royalty. And so I thought that's why all of these things were happening, not because he could literally see the future and know what was going to happen. And so my theory for him, I mean, obviously he's going to continue to play a key role because he can see what's going to happen in the future. We don't know how that works out. So Melgren, you know, can only see the outcome of battles, and he can't do it if more than 3 relics are there. So there might be limitations, like, can he see multiple paths in the future? Can he only see one outcome? Can that outcome be changed? We don't know that information, and so that's going to be super important moving forward. My theory here is that Xaden figured this out early. I don't know if Xaden sought him out, if Aaric sought out Xaden. I think somehow they ended up working together, and Xaden kind of knew the future, what needed to happen, what was going to happen, and even still more probably knows what is going to happen beyond what we as the reader know. And so I do think that there's an element of them kind of working together here, even though that wasn't explicitly stated. But Xaden always like has a plan and is working way far in advance of anything that anybody else is doing, so I would not be surprised at all if that were the case. Just kind of lumping all of the Sorrengails together, I feel like there are so many Sorrengail secrets that we are just constantly learning throughout the book. I think there are more secrets to come. I think Mira's got a lot more to divulge from the time she spent with her grandmother. I think Brennan's still holding on to a couple of things. I think there's more information that we're going to find out about them. And of course, that's going to be super important. Now, the one Sorrengail before we get to Violet that I do want to talk about, oddly enough, is Lilith, because I would bet money that Lilith has she's dead, had channeled at some point in her life. So she is she the answer to the Dark Storm Wielder, or is the Dark Storm Wielder answer to her? One of those two. And so, you know, realized she couldn't beat her, kind of hid behind the wards, but I think there is much more to that. I think that she channeled at some point in her life, probably while she was pregnant with Violet, just kind of based on some comments that were made throughout the story. And I think that that information, because again, the Sorrengails have all kinds of secrets, that information is going to be super important in Violet finding a cure or a way to fix this magic system that is somehow broken. So I think that is going to be really, really telling if that information does come out. And again, I don't know for sure, but I feel very strongly like I will die on that hill at this point. Okay, so let's get to our 2 main characters, Violet and Xaden. Let's talk through what's going on with them. So at the end of Onyx Storm, Violet is now the Duchess of Tyrrendor. She is protected as the ruler, with the Duke being absent. So that was shocking. I totally get it though, because there were so many times that they went against orders. And so in making her the Duchess, not only can she protect this place that Xaden loves very, very much in his absence, but it also will protect her. And that is a conversation throughout the entire story that, you know, he will use Tyrrendor to protect her. She needs to make a decision, like all this stuff. So not a surprise at all that that was the choice he made. The random marriage that we don't get to see was a surprise though. So I do have to say I'm quite angry that we are missing 12 hours of information, and I really want to know what happened. Anyway, moving on, what is going to happen with Violet in the future? So Andarna's back, Taryn's in some sort of sleep for like a day. We know that Andarna is able to break at least the bond that she had with Violet. She was able to do that. That was part of her power, because the Irid said, you know, if you've forged that bond, therefore you can break that bond. So that's an interesting piece of information that we didn't know beforehand. So we also know that Violet's second signet is like dream walking. So she, throughout the entire story, was in other people's dreams. toward the end, she's starting to kind of figure out how that power works. She's able to separate herself from the people in there, kind of communicate with others in the dream. So I think all of this is going to be super important. Before I kind of talk through where I think this is heading, just a reminder that Xaden has like fully channeled, and he did that awesome wave of shadow. Like, here's the thing. I was so upset. I knew it was coming. It was incredible. The description was amazing. And I was sitting in my living room reading it, and I just yelled, "Why am I crying?" I was sobbing the whole time. Anyway, I don't like crying over fictional characters, but it happens from time to time. So, Xaden is like fully Vanine now, I guess, except there's some key differences, I think. First of all, he never channeled to seek power. He channeled to protect the people that he cares about. He thought he needed more power to do so, but I feel like his intention was incredibly different. The other thing too is that the Vanine have stated that they kind of give up their emotions for this power. And so the description in the story is that he could kind of feel his soul chipping away and being replaced with just raw power, but he was able to kind of hold on to his feelings for Violet. So in a way, he's already kind of beating the system. Like, he's kind of Vanine, like the best parts of it without the worst parts of it, in a weird way. So I'm not quite sure what that means for the future. So anyway, he has gone. He told Violet, "Don't look for me. Tyrandor is yours." Or at least that's what I'm assuming he means. The little note he wrote said, "Don't look for me. It's yours now." So assuming that's what he means. She is not able to feel him through their weird bond. It could just be that he is super far away. We also know that there are 4 additional riders missing. The Relic people, I mean. And we also know that there are 6 dragon eggs missing as well. Here's my theory. We know that Taryn and Scale cannot be apart for more than like 5-ish days, but Xaden surely is not going to risk Violet's safety by like coming back every couple of days, right? That's like, the whole point was like for him to do what he can to protect her and then leave, because he's now like too far gone. So if bonds can be broken, this like hurts to say, I think that Taryn and Scale have temporarily broken their bond with each other, and that will allow them to stay apart. That would require a lot of magic, hence Taryn being like super tired and needing to sleep to recover. And with Andarna coming back, we also know that those bonds can be reforged, because she was able to come back and communicate with Violet and do all the things that she was in the past. So we know that that can happen. So I think that their bond has temporarily been broken so that they can stay away. Violet can be protected. I think that Xaden is either in a super random remote place that we know nothing about. He is with Violet's grandmother that we don't know very much about, but Mira visited earlier and was kind of mentioned. Again, I feel like very little is mentioned without it coming back later. He's either with his mother, who we know he doesn't care about because she kind of tried to kill them, or her husband tried to kill them, I guess, and she just kind of left him. But that would be like a refuge for him. Last place I think he could be is with the Irids, the other dragons. Now, they were very much against him before he channeled this much. Do I think they'll accept him now? Probably not. But what they might accept is if he brought dragon eggs with him. And so I don't think that the Vanine have stolen the dragon eggs. I think that he has them, not for any nefarious purposes, of course. I think he has a plan. He does mention that he couldn't kill his like sage mentor, whatever, because he needed information from him. So I'm almost wondering if it's like it's 2 birds, 1 stone situation. Is he kind of saying like, hey, I brought you some dragon eggs that you can, you know, raise however you'd like, because I know you're pacifists, if you'll kind of let me stay here until I figure things out? Or is it more of like a, hey, Vanine guys, I have these dragon eggs. If you want them, come get them. I don't know, but that's my working theory so far. Now, how is Violet going to cure Xaden, or who's going to cure Xaden, and how is it going to be done? As I said, I do think that Sloan is the key. I think there's going to be some form of magic going from one place back into the other. So whether that's from Xaden back into the earth that he drained, whether that is from a dragon into the earth, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but that's my working theory. I do think that Violet and Xaden are going to continue to communicate through their dreams, because she can like kind of enter his dreams, has been doing so throughout the story. As I said, she's able to separate and kind of just fully communicate. So I do think they're going to stay in contact that way, or she's at least going to kind of get an image of what is happening with him, even if he's kind of not communicating back. So it seems like their bond isn't like broken, but it's not functioning the way that it should. My last kind of working theory for Violet would be to finish her temple dedication. So we know that as a child, her dad tried to have her dedicated to the temple. The dedication was not completed, hence her hair being like partially gray. And the priestesses would not complete it because her path was still unclear. There was still a potential she could, you know, choose the dark side. So now that she has, I think, proven herself, could that temple dedication be finished? Sure, I think so. Would that help in any way? Possibly. So that kind of leads to the last element that I kind of want to talk about, and that is the whole idea of like giving up your soul for power. I reread it multiple times because at first I thought, well, maybe it's not so much that you give up your soul, maybe it's more that it's encased in this like hard crust of power and it's just not accessible anymore. After like a second or third read, I think she described it as like flaking away like ash. And so it does kind of sound like it's gone. Now, to this point in the story, have there been any like communication with gods and goddesses? No, they are heavily mentioned. They are described in detail. Many people attribute things that have happened to different gods and goddesses. So I think that they're going to play a key role in that. One of the theories that I read is that Violet is going to have to like go like bargain with a god to get Xaden's soul back. I don't know that I think that. I don't necessarily know that I think there's going to be any direct communication with gods and goddesses, unless that would happen through like the temple. So that's where I'm a little bit unsure about how this is going to go. And another theory that I read that I think probably makes the most sense is that Xaden's gonna have to like die and be brought back, or he's gonna have to sacrifice his magic to get his soul back, like all of his magic, which I totally think he would. So I'm just not quite sure what route we're gonna take with that. I do think that he's going to be cured in some capacity. It's not going to be an easy fix, and it's going to be a costly fix. So either he's going to lose his magic or somebody else is going to have to sacrifice themselves, and hopefully that's not a dragon. But there is going to be some sacrifice that will let him come back. I don't know what that's gonna look like. Or I'm just thinking about this now, as I said previously, the magic system is broken, it gets all fixed up, and then Violet's like the head of the, oh, here's one way to do magic, and Xaden's the head of like, oh, here's the other way to do magic. They're both okay because the magic system is fixed, but maybe they like lead different groups? I'm not sure. So those are all of my ramblings about Onyx Storm. As I said, I was not well yesterday when I finished. I kept putting it off because I knew what was gonna happen. I knew how it was gonna end, and I just couldn't bring myself to read it. But now that I have theories, I don't wanna wait, and so hopefully we will get the next book very, very soon. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to all of my fan theories. If you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts or have any other pieces of information to throw into the mix, please let me know in the comments. I am looking forward to talking about Onyx Storm for a while, and so I would love to hear what your thoughts are. But That's the end of this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.